Hello and welcome to Tavern Talks. I'm your wonderful host and the GM for Tabletop Misfits. And tonight we have a really exciting opportunity to talk to two very impressive friends of mine. They've been working on projects for up to probably, I've known them since for about a year now of seeing their projects, and their projects are incredible. Um, Tony is probably one of the most amazing people when it comes to building these massive maps of nothing but Dwarven Forge. And then, of course, I got to meet one of his right hand people, Eric, who enjoys cosplay, has a great character, just development idealism. And so, before I just continue to just brag about these two people, let's have them talk a little bit, right? This is probably the best option. So, Tony, if you want to give a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Tony Sloan. I am the owner of NerdBauchery, and I am here with my good friend Eric Wahlberg, who's also my business director. And pretty much we run a game every week on Gen Con TV. It's called NerdBauchery Adventures. You can check us out there if you want to do that one day. We use Dwarven Forge, and I guess over the course of this interview, you'll learn all about it. So I'll let Eric go ahead and introduce himself.
Cool. All right. Well, you already very nicely kind of introduced me, but I've been playing with Tony now for about 2 years. It was around the start of the pandemic that got me to playing online and meeting Tony, and I've been playing in 3 campaigns with him. Right, 3 characters, 3 campaigns, both NerdBauchery and NerdBauchery Adventures, and then over time I've become a little more involved in the business, working on kind of business relations and development, as Tony was saying, and having a great time and honored to be here, James. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Like I said, what we like to do here is we like to just bring creators, game masters, and show off what you guys do, because everybody has their own way of playing D&D, and seeing new ways of playing, seeing new tips to play just allows the entirety of the community to become better. So I thought, what better way to show off how to build than, well, to bring one of the biggest people I know that has just an exorbitant amount of Dwarven Forge materials. Now, we had a friend of ours, DM Dadco, on here a couple weeks ago, and he just does Warlock tiles. But there's a difference. I love Warlock. I think they're great tiles, but Dwarven Forge has this just specialness to them. This personal touch, I guess would be the best way to put it, with every piece that they craft. So I know I'm curious. You don't have to say if you don't want to, but how much Dwarven Forge do you have?
Me or Eric?
He wants to know from you, and he also wants to know your address and when you go on vacation.
Oh, how much? Well, I have like money value, or biome?
You tell me the way you want to explain it. I'm not going to tell you. You have to give a number value off on.
I guess I explain it too. I could say money value, as well as, like, I guess the way Dwarven Forge is that they have biomes and, like, areas, like you have dungeons, caverns, Underdoom, a whole bunch of areas. You have forests, cities. So I have all the biomes except the Underdoom, which I would like to get one day. But if I had to put a numerical value on it, now I got a good deal on about 30% of my collection, because I found it at an estate sale where someone had passed away. So they were selling it for like 90% off retail, because the people didn't even know what it was. They were just like, they thought it was toys. So, then
to most people it is toys.
Yeah, well, then they gave it to a hobby shop called Red Cap's Corner in Philadelphia, and they were like, "Hey, we got all this stuff," and this is like when I was going around trying to promote the business as something you could do in hobby shops, which wasn't feasible, I found out. But yeah, so they ended up selling me all this Dwarven Forge, a bunch of castle stuff and mountain stuff. That was where I got a good 90% of that, of my castles and mountains. Mm-hmm. But yeah, trailing off, I'd say a numerical value, like 40,000.
Yeah,
I mean, because you think Wildlands, So I got Wildlands Untamed, and that was a little bit. I think Wildlands was like 6,500, but I got
See, last time I talked to you, I believe you were just starting the unboxing of what, and you said it took what, like 7 hours to
yeah
unbox.
yeah, because I was like categorizing, putting everything like I have like a very let me tell you something. You have to when you get to a certain point. One of the jokes, like I talk to other people who like really into collecting this stuff, it's like storage is the ultimate monster. I mean, this stuff is like beautiful, but man, it's going to take up some space. It's sculpted terrain.
Yeah.
But
it's not light either.
No,
like,
and I didn't pay that 35 or 40,000. Let me say that. So because of that,
right.
you know, but Wildlands I did pay. That was probably the biggest money drop I did, and I paid that over time with Dwarven Forge. I got also their resin stuff with it, and I think that was like 6,900 when you had the also like collectible 2 resin things you could get. They were offering like the Moonlit Arch and the Heart of the Forest, which was
nice.
or something like that, whatever the other name was. It's really beautiful resin pieces sculpted by Eli himself, which were gorgeous.
It's hard not to go. It's hard not to go all in on these Kickstarters because, for one thing, they're new and they're like bits that will add to what you have. Be like, this is a great compliment to X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And then their promo videos that Nathan and those guys do are just top notch, get you excited about it, very descriptive. And then also you find out that if I don't buy it now, I might never get it.
Right.
Because they'll restock the store. Exactly. But it's like a mad rush. I don't even bother anymore.
It's going to cost more.
Yeah. I don't even bother when they go in and say, 1 o'clock today, we have the restock. I'm like, man. Like, you kids go and fight over it yourselves, and I'll go in later and see what's left. You know,
pick away at the last pieces that I need.
Yeah. So you definitely want to buy in when you can, and it's great. And I'm also a collector too. I have a bunch myself.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason I'm playing with Tony. Was that I was on one random D&D Facebook group. Tony said, "Hey, I'm running this game." He had a picture of his huge, beautiful setup for the first campaign that he had, and it was like Dwarven Forge once a week live. I'm like, I'm in, and then luckily I made it in, and I wanted to be in the good team, but because he has good and evil, right?
Yeah.
But I just squeezed in the evil team, and I found out later I was glad because it was a blast playing the evil team with Tony. But yeah, the Dwarven Forge stuff is fantastic.
So I'm excited now because there's something that you do that I do, and I was like, oh, cool. Now I have something I can talk to you about that feels different. Most people don't play evil games. How do you feel when you're playing the evil game, Tony?
Oh, well, I've never got to play evil character in a campaign because I don't ever get to play. I'm always DMing. But as the DM, I have to say, that I really enjoyed the evil team. I loved both teams and I had a good time. But with the good team, you kind of know predictably what's going to happen because they're good. Good is going to tend to do good. They might go off the rails a little bit with variation, but overall, they're going to do kind of what you expect. They're going to go save the princess. But the evil team, oh man, like one of the times when I first met Eric, who has his character Cutter. And in our very first session, this is when I knew the evil team was going to be different because I'd also never run an evil campaign.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's going to be fun for me too, a journey of discovery. They walk into the tavern. I'm getting ready to do my tavern voice and start giving them information. And Cutter, Eric, walks in there and he starts strangling someone.
He did coax me. He was picking a fight, but
or something. He didn't like instantly just walk up and strangle people. But it wasn't hard to get his character to start strangling someone.
The trigger, right?
Yeah, the trigger wasn't much. Just I think it was a few insults, and his character was off and running. And right then and there, I knew I was like, okay, this is going to be different. Because
this was the first time that I'd played any type of extended evil campaign before, and luckily nowadays when you watch a lot of movies and you see the different sides of villains, I kind of took that same perspective of I have these good traits, but I also have some pretty bad traits, right?
Right.
And the bad traits are the ones that can be considered evil, and so you balance that out with parts that are good, that are more endearing or funny or interesting, with the parts of like, oh crap, look what he just did, right? I mean, we can go into some more detail if you want later, but my character in that first adventure, he was basically called out by this old man for I forget what it was now, but basically because he got me in trouble with the local constable. I came back maybe, God, it must have been like 2 months later in game time, but I came back later and we kidnapped him and I murdered him in the woods.
Oh, I know.
And he was begging for his life anyway, right? But at the same time, my character also formed a romance with another character, and it was a very deep and sincere, right? So all this balance, right, of stuff.
Right.
And it was fun too to do things that people were like, oh crap, right? Like that. Tony loved that. He'd always laugh. Was his great Tony laugh when you do something like, oh no, here they go, right? So
Right.
they were not predictable. So yeah.
Don't forget when that same episode where you're talking about killing that guy in the forest. Remember, not only did they kill him, they brought him back and kept killing him.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they would like kill him, and then like I think they cast like spare the dying or something to bring him back. Yeah, so they could kill him again. It was truly sadistic. But before that, they'd already killed another like main NPC,
Right.
and had a tabaxi, which actually was Mace from Dwarven Forge. She was actually playing on the evil team for a little while, and they had her eat the evidence, which was the body, as the tabaxi. It was that was the kind of crazy stuff that went on the evil team, man. You never knew what to expect watching that stuff back in the day.
There's one funny bit that I do want to share, because I want to talk about other stuff, was that it gave opportunities to do things that were kind of, if I can use the word dickish.
Sure.
So we had this major battle with this wyvern in this ruins, and up in this tower where we found this crying little boy who if we wanted to, we could have brought this person back for some kind of reward, right? And the crying little boy he's sitting on top of this trap door, and he's crying. He's like, oh, I need help, right? And Tony's so good. And well, in general, he's a fantastic, as you've heard, of voiceovers and character roles, but he does such a good pleading little boy, right? And I go up to the kid and he's crying. I grab him and I toss him aside so I can open up the trap door to see where the treasure is, right? So it's just a funny moment. We just toss the kid like it was just something in the way, So
I forgot about that.
No, like I said, I don't know a lot of other GMs who have ran long periods of evil campaigns, and I'm currently still in one. One of my paid games weekly is an all evil group, and I told people right off the beginning, because that was my only worry, because I was like, okay, this is the first time I've ever done an evil campaign, and this is what they're asking for, so let me see if I can come up with this idea. And we had a long session 0 that explained, like, if you're going to be evil stupid, you're going to die early. But if you're going to be smart about it and you're going to do things normal and then throw evil slowly into it until you get more powerful, then things make more sense. And now they're level 8 and they do some very creepy and crazy things. And I'm like, okay, now you're powerful enough that you don't care what happens. And this is Tomb of Annihilation after the tomb has been opened, closed, and now it's trying to be reopened again.
Oh boy.
So, and there's another third-party evil person that's trying to connect with the Yuan Ti there and making them kind of this united cause. And it's getting nasty now in Omu. There's like 4 different factions in Omu that people are kind of now. So now the evil party has sided with the Red Wizards of Thay, and the Tabaxi Hunter squads are starting to show up and try to take off people one by onesie twosies. And
it sounds like it's going great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's great. I love it. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite games I've ever ran. And I was like, this is just a nifty way to play, and it's different.
Evil turns out to be real fun, especially if you have players who aren't, like you said, being jerky. As long as you have, everyone's getting along and understands that, hey, it's evil, but we're not going to be evil towards each other. It's just really fun. Then you're going to have some really great moments. But that's any group, as long as everybody gets along.
I agree.
Yeah, that's the most important thing about D&D. And I say all the time, people are like, oh, your games must be so much better because of the Dwarven Forge. And it's like, no, the most important, you could have all the terrain in the world, but if you don't have a bunch of cool people that you get along playing with, man, you're
Yeah.
gonna have a miserable time, man.
No, we had a if you didn't get a chance to watch last week's episode, we had Punk Rock Jenny on here, and that is like her first thing to do. She's like, I vet all my players. She's like, nope, because I want to make sure that everybody fits perfectly. And it's because as game masters and as people in general, time is not something that we have a lot of. And I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste other people's time if we don't click. Like it's just not going to work in a game. Now there are things that I will do to accommodate depending on if it's a paid game or if it's a friend game or if it's a con game even. But for those tight knit long term games, they've got to be. I mean, you've got to connect because otherwise, it's not going to be that you're not going to have that cohesion that you have.
Yeah, I mean that's 100%, bro. And I think that especially it's amplified when you're online, when you have an audience, when you have a schedule.
Oh yeah.
You need people that are, responsible and on the same team, yeah, kind of psychologically, that they want to support each other. And I'm really happy to say, I think now at this point, we have an A team, like everybody from top to bottom. They're sincere, they're responsible, they're fun, they're committed. They want the stream to do well. They want to do things that will entertain people. And it's a really good group, and that makes it a lot easier for Tony and I, for sure. We have a really good group.
Yeah, because I don't like dealing with no drama. Nice, easy, everybody getting along.
It's not worth it.
No.
And for our wonderful people over at Heroes of Evermore, let me turn on. See if they hear it. Oh no, it didn't come through. Not good. My huzzah is not working. Oh no. Anyway, I'll keep working on that while we continue our talk. So the picture we have up right now, how big is that table?
That table is the main one. There's 3 tables in that picture. You have the main table, which is 6 foot by 4 foot. And that has kind of like the island forest / swamp area, because I needed to fit like multiple biomes, for this campaign I'm running. So I didn't have to constantly always build. So you have swamps and forest on there. And then in the background, there's another table. And that one's about 2 foot by 3 foot. And that has the mountains you can see in the background.
Yeah.
With the waterfall coming down. I've sent, there's some pictures also. I don't know if we're going to see those pictures, but the ones I sent show close-ups of this stuff. And then on the left, you see there's another table, and that one's about 3 foot by 3 foot. And that has one of the ships that was painted for us. And coincidentally, that ship right there, thanks to Eric and his great ability to form relationships with other businesses, was able to secure us a sponsorship from Reaper Miniatures, and they sent us that boat absolutely free. And that boat was
That's
their
epic.
Kickstarter boat. Yeah, and that thing's like $350. So they sent it to us for free. And then a friend of mine custom painted it. And we used that boat for
that was for your guys's celebrity one.
Yes.
Yeah.
One shot, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep. We used that, and the other boat I have 2 boats. That for the Wounded Warrior Project game. So yeah, up there it is. Yeah, that's the mountains that I built.
We haven't gone there yet, actually.
No, that's just, I have that just ready to go as like my standard, like when they go to the mountains, because there's mountains on the island in this campaign. So eventually they're going to go to mountains. So I just have it ready to go. I wish I had a larger table because obviously I have a lot more mountain stuff. I would like to go much bigger than that, but that's all I could fit up there. So
So as you get closer and closer to the mountains, then you're gonna have to start building behind and then taking some of the others down, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could play an entire encounter or whatever on these mountains. There's more enough space for that. I would just transfer the minis from the forest area, because I have a transition. These pictures, the ones you see here, I've actually improved upon this build where I added some transitionary grass areas. in the
Okay.
very front. So it looks like you're transitioning from the forest and approaching the mountains. So the stream, it will appear that they went to the forest and slowly got more and more mountainy, and then they were in the mountains.
Nice. And I know we've talked about this before, but the way your stream works is you clip out pieces of this to show off on the stream, correct? And
So I could,
then for the encounters, you're actually in real time.
yeah,
Right.
there's a few things I do.
I mean, you don't tell all your secrets if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's basically in a nutshell. Yeah, I clip out stuff and I use it, and then I go live with the actual battles.
Yeah. But that makes perfect sense. But it's awesome that it gives you that opportunity to go at different angles and showing things differently by doing that. And you can't do that unless you have a full, tech team all around you at all times if you're going to try to move during gameplay and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
funny you say that. A lot of what I do now was learned by, like everything else in life, trial and error.
Yep.
And in the very beginning, that's what we were doing, and it was utter chaos. And you're never really satisfied with the camera angles because you're trying to do them so quick because I'm doing this
Right.
live. So I was never really happy with it because I wanted to present more of a narrative. The ultimate goal, what I'm trying to do here, is create pretty much an interactive movie where the characters are driving the movie and I have the scenes ready to go.
Right.
And that's something that I've watched a lot of other D&D streams, and nobody does that because no one has the ability, at least when they're live, to say, okay, let's do a flashback or what happened. And then a scene comes up showing a flashback of just those characters in the scene, right? Because you're live in most other shows, at least that I've seen, like I said, there's a lot of shows out there. I haven't seen that ability. And I like to think that is unique to what we've created here.
As far as I've seen, that is unique. The fact that you use not only Dwarven Forge in your combat, but as scenes in your story, I think that is very unique.
Yeah.
The shot of this up right now,
yeah, there it is. That's a perfect example.
So my character, as you may or may not know, he died in the 3rd session, I think. And so in the 4th, he was like in this kind of purgatory of a sort. He was in some other plane and he met his deceased son, right? And so he had that all set up. He had all this ready, and we jumped out from this swampy, well-lit area to this, right? And so it's great. And yeah, the other nice thing that I've noticed, right, as another Dwarven Forge person and a player, et cetera, is that the DF stuff is so super detailed and beautiful, as well as the minis that Tony spends, a lot to get these really beautifully painted. He can zoom in close in on these things and make them look at their best. Not the bird's eye view so we can play the game well, but here's what looks great.
Right. And I think this is a neat thing. And I've talked to a lot of game masters about it because we have these amazing shows that are made by the top-notch D&D people in the community right now. And I'm going to throw the names out because the biggest names out there, as far as I believe, Critical Role, aka number 1, and then of course you've got Realmsmith, which is pretty close to the back end, and they both use extremely well detailed battle scenes. However, specifically Critical Role, sadly, you never get to see it. It's always this top-down view. Nobody ever sees really that big, or they throw it in a corner in the bottom of a stream, and it's like I never get to see how all this amazing stuff looks. I think you do an amazing opportunity to tell the story through Dwarven Forge and through your miniatures. And you can see all those details, especially like this shot right here.
All right.
You can see all the details of the temple or the shrine. You can see the coloration adjustments. You can see all of the forest behind it, and it just builds this amazing scene compared to a bird's eye view of this where you wouldn't be able to see those details. That the fact that that's not just a plain wall where the pillar is, it's actually got filigree on it, it's got design work and all that stuff. And I think that's definitely a customized key to your guys' show. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you
So-
very much. And yeah, you got it 100% right. I'm just trying to create a new type of narrative, a way to tell a narrative story through virtual gaming. You
Yeah.
know, like we have the virtual gaming, we got that, like you're saying, we got the combat, but it's a lot of the narrative, it's hard to do because like, well, how do you present it, you know, while you're live, you know?
Right.
And that was my goal. And but I want to continue to improve. Like I've learned animation. Like one of our episodes, I made a river move.
You and I talked about that. And you're like, because you were showing me some of those neat things that you were doing.
So
we have a guy in here, Heroes of Evermore. That man is the like mad scientist of immersion when it comes to gameplay. If you get a chance, go like 3 or 4 episodes behind and watch the interview with him. They do things like you would see in a 3rd grade science project, you know, sparks that you drop into water and it actually makes different colors come up, or smoke changing colors, or they're in I think a ritual was one of them that they did, and he was literally sprinkling the sand into a bubble and it would pop and make all these colors. I was like,
oh,
this is genius. This is
hardcore. That's hardcore.
What's his name? I know it's Heroes of Evermore. What's the gentleman's name?
Oh shoot, you're gonna ask me that question.
Oh shoot. Okay, that's right. Don't worry.
There's like a group.
He's my hero. Either way, so someone, because to me, a DM. I DM for like 40 years and just recently started really playing, right? Or 30 years in a DM playing, but immersing your players, immersing them, right? Immersing them in everything from, you know, story to emotions to then when you have this type of medium with sound and visuals and stuff. That's fantastic, and that's again why I love playing Tony's games. You know, it's always a treat. It's always a visual, immersive treat. Morgan Dangerfield.
Yep, there you go.
No respect. Get it? Dangerfield. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, I got it.
I get it, Eric. I get it. And, I told my wife. You know, my wife. You know. Oh, I get no respect at all.
Look at that instinct. Look at that skills. But no, like I said, I think these are neat opportunities to show a different side of D&D. A lot of people, due to the pandemic, had to go back to the drawing board. We now do everything online, but to see some of these amazing things that are just, first off, somebody's created, like that to me is impressive. Now, my curiosity is, how do you come up with what to build? You know, when you got 90,000 pieces, I feel like I'm back in the Lego store and I'm like, I don't know what to build at this point. So what is your inspiration to put these scenes together?
Well, depending, obviously, I mean, if I know what they're doing, I mean, like a lot of like a one shot, if I know they're going to like a ruins, then I'll just, you know, have it build some ruins. And a lot of times in the one shots, they'll describe like how many floors it will have, like, oh, they'll make a 3-floor tower or something. So you'll have the general layout. So a lot of times I'll try to match like the appropriate, if they have like a layout, say of like how many squares are, like it's a 30 by 30 room. I'll try to match that because I want to give my players, like when they're playing modules, especially like the old school ones, I want them to really know that they're playing exactly as the creator intended. Now, obviously, there's going to be homebrew stuff and other extras thrown in. But when it comes to like descriptions of areas, I try to match it if I can. So that would be my inspiration for that.
Okay.
General nature scenes, like the shape of this island, like this, the one that you had in the table in the beginning, that's just something I kind of like, I just see it in my head. Like I used to watch a lot of Bob Ross. Like I love the joy of painting. Now I cannot paint worth a crap.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay. But I love artists and I love watching artists paint. And I used to watch, I mean, I loved him so much that I bought it on DVD. And to be honest, I highly suggest anybody who gets into building this terrain stuff, watch Bob Ross, because it will apply his general like advice on how to design a painting will apply over into this. It will help you present scale and create depth within your builds.
Look at that.
So I highly suggest that. because it taught me how to do a lot of different planes to push back other things to make my table appear bigger, my shots appear wider, just generally bigger. And all that I really did learn from Bob Ross. So yeah, that's inspiration for that was just either it's the module or it's something I've kind of come up in my head already, a general nature scene.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, this massive forest that you've got here, and then you've got pieces that look like old ruins, and then you've got the mountains in the background. It's one of those things. Like I said, I've played around with Dwarven Forge sometimes, but to put all of it together, it's its own artistic work that I think should be commended, no matter what.
I love this stuff.
Absolutely.
I love it.
It's like Legos for D&D players. Like I love it.
It got me back into D&D. I mean, I had not stopped, but I got super interested when I discovered it. I discovered it during the Kickstarter 3, the cities. And then like I didn't have as much money back then, but I still didn't matter. I would get what I could. And I was just super amped because I wanted my players to experience this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and they had so much fun because we're spoiled. We see this stuff all the time, right? But I ran a game at GaryCon earlier this year, and none of the players had ever played with it, and they were just taking so many pictures. And the whole time they're just like in awe when I was revealing anything because it's brand new, you know? We get spoiled that what Tony has is like this will like literally make people's heads explode who haven't played D&D before, right?
So my first experience was Gen Con last year when we were running for GUI Cube. I ran this thing called the Dungeon of the Unix, which was a 35 room dungeon. And I had never seen Dwarven Forge before. I'd seen it on videos, I'd seen it on pictures. I'd never touched it, never seen it. And I was like, oh, there's something about this that's just so different than I ever expected. Just the pure detail that Stefan and his team put into these things is insane. So shout outs to Stefan if he's watching. If he's not, hopefully one day he will, because their stuff is incredible.
Dwarvenforge.com, you guys. There's starter kits and stuff. You know, if you have a budget, you know, you can make little encounters. It's not crazy. You don't have to spend 40,000. You can spend.
But you will.
One day.
That is a problem.
Because it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Just spend what you can spend. Don't just go into debt.
That's true. You don't need to. The best thing to actually do is like saying get the starter kits, because look, you can build a huge table like this, but most of the time your players aren't going to play this whole table in one session. The average encounter, like if you build a dungeon, one room usually takes a team of 4 to 6 people, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to explore. So you can anticipate that if you're having a 3-hour game session, you're only going to need like maybe 3 or 4 rooms really build. I mean, you don't need a lot. So
I mean, I've personally broken most of my games down to one encounter. I mean, if you're just doing encounters you've got one room you have to build. Everything else can be described, and then you're like, oh, we're ready for combat? Let me just pull this massive. Okay, done. Good, we're good to go. The hero reliquary dice display pieces were pretty cool, and I like the fact that when they made those, they're like, yes, this is for dice. However, and then you started seeing how people were using these things inside the dungeons themselves, and I was like, oh, that's genius right there.
Yeah, you know, in Stefan's, was it the second to the last, third to the last? It was one of the last games that Stefan ran. We could talk about later too if you want. That Tony and I are in their campaign, right, with Stefan and Luke and those guys. And at one part, there was a talking giant dwarven statue with an anvil, and it wasn't exactly the reliquary. He used it, and it was seamless, and it stood out, and it was like, you know, it was like an accessory that you would buy for your dungeon, not a dice holder. So
really good scatter piece. You know, it's really nice.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to state is for people who might not be fully ready to dive into these things. If you have you can buy scatter pieces too now, which is pretty cool. Because then if you have, if you're playing on a digital display, or you're still playing the old school grid and draw paper, you can still place things down to make the thing more immersive.
And what's great about the scatter pieces, now I've never done like Warhammer 40K, but as I've heard from people who do play it, they actually prefer flat surfaces to push their armies across.
Oh yeah, because they've got 6,000 army.
So they want to be able to push it across. So for them, getting the large scatter pieces from Dwarven Forge is great, and they get that, and they can just place it around like a Chessex grid board or whatever. Yeah, and then they can go all to town with it. But yeah, if you want to, I would tell people if they're just getting into Dwarven Forge, the first thing I would buy. It's what it is the very first thing I bought from Dwarven Forge, actually bought from them, is the basic dungeon starter set for $99. Buy it painted, and that will give you like 2 rooms, and dungeon pieces are very versatile. You can use it for a temple, you can use it for a dungeon, you can use it for a tavern. I mean, you can take and mix all those pieces, and it could be almost anything you want, castle, basement, whatever. So that's what I suggest, and that won't break the bank either.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%.
Awesome. Does anybody in the chat have questions? Oh, and we went to. So at this point, we're in a for our non-subscribers, they're currently getting.
Yeah, they can't. Oh, okay. I see it. Yeah, I see it now.
But it's our little break. Pause.
So we could.
So.
Well, I guess we have about 5 seconds. Let's see if they got questions.
Yeah, let's see if anybody has any questions.
I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm just so ready, man. You have no idea.
So what are you playing?
I don't even know, and I'm glad I don't know.
Okay.
How's the setup working for that? Are you giving him the biome pre-built, or is he?
No, what's great about Eric is he's gonna come over, and I'm gonna like give him building tips and everything, but he'll build, and I'm gonna record or do live us building while I talk while he kind of builds. So I'll be there kind of like being the sensei to him building these stuff, because I'm gonna let him use this other this other table I have.
Nice. So we have a question from Shadow Lantern 193. He asked, "What is your favorite set piece to work with?"
What do you mean by set pieces? He
probably means biomes.
Biome. Okay, my favorite biome to work with. Oof.
And Eric, since you have a few of these too, you can chime in as well.
I love mountains and forests, but if I had to only pick one, I'd have to probably go with forests, simply because, you can build so many beautiful things with rivers, and a lot of D&D adventures take place in the woods. I mean, you're constantly traveling.
Right.
Yeah, I love the beauty of just, doing a really good forest build with a winding river or something like that, going through it and populating it with animals, kind of similar to the table that you see I already have. If I could only pick one biome, it'd probably be forest, with mountains being close behind, because you can do beautiful stuff with mountains too.
I'll kind of give a different answer to the question, which is anything with elevation. I love.
Oh yeah.
Super tall towers. Like I have, I put on these. I put a lot of money into some castles at one point, and I had these 2 huge tall towers with a connecting, ramp in the middle, and that was on top of another thing on top of a mountain, right? And so anything elevation, it gives interesting play dynamics. Visually, it's stunning,
right?
And it gives you a lot of. It makes it feel more real, and not so much just like a flat with, like if you're playing the kind of traditional dungeon where everything's kind of flat with just, walls and doors everywhere. But if you could instead have like stairs up and another level, and like Todd Putman does a lot, right? With that kind of
Right.
stuff, a lot of elevation.
Yeah, no. I think
So-
elevation definitely, if you have the 3D materials to be able to elevate things, definitely makes
Yeah,
for a more unique game.
yeah.
Otherwise, you have to visualize it, or you have to explain it better.
Right.
Because like I said, everything I do right now is online, and sometimes it's hard to explain to somebody that that's actually the hill goes upward, but it's still all flat surface. But when you have those abilities to give elevation, that does definitely change things up and help with stuff like that. I like that. I like that answer. I like both answers. Truthfully,
We'd love the new mountains then, because the mountains
Yeah.
is all about elevation. This
Yeah,
kind of
they're
stuff.
the mountains look pretty awesome.
The latest set, that latest Kickstarter, I mean, the paint jobs are just top notch. They detail everything, man.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah, so when I was at Genghis Khan in Colorado this year, they had the under the almost like the caves, but they were much darker and much. It looked truthfully like the my brain is blanking, the Underdark.
Mhm.
That's kind of what they had built, and it was
Talking about undergloom.
Yeah, the
That's what they
undergloom.
call it. They call it the undergloom.
yeah.
But that's what
Or our team over at GUI Cube calls it the Underdelve, but everybody has their own unique versions to it. But it's the place where light doesn't go.
As an aside, because we haven't talked about it, I
Yeah.
freaking love sewers. Like if anybody's played with this, do you have sewers, Tony? You do, right?
Oh
Yeah, you
yeah,
do.
sewers are awesome, dude.
Yeah, you've used it,
we had
right?
we had a whole freaking
That's
quest in the sewers, man.
as I finished my sentence, I remembered the fight with
Yeah.
that with a neat.
I couldn't pronounce the word.
Yeah, exactly. This is so great. So what's fun is you're playing with friends because we always rib each other because Tony had the hardest time saying Neo Yug, and he would, like, every time it was some different word.
Oh
And it
yeah.
was so, yeah, like, what is he saying? What? But I love the sewers anyway. I was just saying that the paint schemes and just it's so much different than everything else.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I like about playing Dwarven Forge or running Dwarven Forge is these drastically different biomes. You could be you're in the city and then suddenly you find a cave underneath and that leads to the sea and you have an island over there, right? That
Right.
the biomes are strikingly different. And that's why when you collect this for 8 or 10 years, then you can go, oh, good. I now have, like Tony does, he has a city or a temple or whatever we need, right? And it's the variety. Because when you play the same thing all the time, it's like,
Correct. Yeah. But I do like the fact though that not only is it a variety, but the versatility of Dwarven Forge is very useful too. So, maybe you have a cave, but then in the middle of the cave there's this underground forest, and you can place the forest pieces down and around it, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Thinking through like the Sunless Citadel type mentality where go through the castle and then they go down into the deepens portions of it and then have to deal with the tree.
One thing we don't
that
haven't
answered the question.
I think one thing we haven't remarked on is Dwarven Forge's durability.
Their what ability?
Their durability is the reason this stuff is like tough, man. I've never played with the Warlock tiles yet, so I can't speak on that. But Dwarven Forge, man, you could drop this stuff on not the old resin pieces, the old resin pieces and the new resin pieces, like their special collector's pieces. Those, they're still made of resin.
Yeah.
But all their Dwarvenite pieces, man, you could take a hammer to this stuff and you're gonna be fine.
I don't know if I'd be brave enough to take a hammer to it.
Yeah,
but I definitely could see the difference. And it was interesting because when we played in Colorado, the gentleman that we played with that brought all of his, you could tell the difference because he's been buying from the Kickstarter since Kickstarter 1 till now, and you can see the difference of weight and durability and just the changing in details that they've done. It's not night and day, but you can definitely see the difference, and they've improved tremendously over the years, which of course they're going to with the amount of success and just incredible skills that they have, and their team has grown probably tremendously as well. I'm here to avenge Jorg the zombie.
Oh, we got a follower.
Oh, he's from fantastic. So Nordic, do we know the actual name of Nordic? Because he was watching our stream on Sunday and he's watched us several times before. Do you know who this person is, Tony?
I don't believe so in real life.
Nordic, do we know your real name? Is that still a secret? Because we
Must be
know
a secret.
we know Nordic, and I assume he. I mean, but there could be female hammers. Someone's, so I'll finish that real quick. So hi Nordic, and yeah, he follows our Gen Con TV stream, and I believe also has watched us on NerdBauchery when we had games there. But I appreciate you coming. And so
Thanks, Nordic.
The Jorge the zombie was a reference because we were fighting these zombies and ghouls, and Tony, for speed's sake, was giving them numbers. And so he was like saying, no, they have names, damn it. And the last one to die, I think, was Jorge. So
wait, the Nordic Hammer? I think I do know who that is.
Yeah.
I believe oh God.
Don't out the name if the person doesn't want the name out, but
I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Oh, my mind is I'm getting old here. I'm starting to have like Tom. That's Tom. Tom Pease. Tom and Adrian. If I'm not mistaken, that is Tom.
Hi Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Tom is someone.
Thanks for coming to hang out with us, Tom.
It's an interesting story. If that is Tom, he originally, him and his wife were the people that I started playing second edition D&D with before I started NerdBauchery, and they were there when the guy offered me Dwarven Forge before I knew what it was. He's like, I have this stuff and I really don't use it.
Oh,
Maybe you'd like to buy these Dwarven Forge sets. And I was like, well, I guess so. I'll just buy a little, because he sold me like 4 of the Kickstarter resin sets, like the very first Kickstarter ones, like the Master Maze. Yeah. All 4 for like $180. And I looked online. I was like, wow, that's a really good deal, even though I've never seen this stuff. Like, okay, well, I'm sure I'll buy this and that will be it.
Actually, because this is kind of connected to all the stuff we're talking about. Is Eric able to bring up the picture that it might be too scrunched, but it's the one that's a dual picture, or shows me playing D&D a few years ago and then me playing D&D when I was a kid. You see that dual picture?
I believe we have that one in our.
Because I want because this relates to Dwarven Forge and someone else talking about Warlock tiles here as well. But I'll talk about it while you try and find it. If you don't find it,
we've got it's on there. He'll
but
pull it up in a second.
There, back when I was 13, the highlight of my birthday party was to have everyone playing a game, and I got these huge pieces of paper and drew out squares and things, and had several levels and whatever. So there it is. So if you look at the picture, it's how it's all yellowed. So up top, you can see that was just one of the many rooms. I had almost like you'd have trays in Dwarven Forge. I had several. I keep bringing them out, and so that was my attempt at Dwarven Forge before anything like that existed. And then below was what I wanted to do as an adult, which I got to do as an adult, right? Which is is a lake town with like ruins and all kinds of stuff going on. So it's great to be able to have that vision in your head as a kid, and excitement as a kid, and then you grow up, you don't change. You just now have money to buy the things that now
exactly
exist. And then you can play with people and give them that super experience, right? So it's great that stuff exists, and obviously.
So I have to ask: Is this the same exact vision that you had? Like, is it the same exact build that you were building in as a child?
Well, so in this case, no. This is a dungeon. We're just always just dungeon murder hobo guys, and when we play that, right? Everything we just play through modules, which are mostly dungeons, and that's really what I loved anyway. It's just you just want to kick a door down and fight the next monster and avoid the next trap or whatever, right?
Yeah, and get the next coffer and move on to the next monster.
Yeah. But so thanks for sharing that. But yeah, that's what's so great to be able to, as a DM, bring that higher level kind of experience to the players. Make people happy, right?
Yeah. And that's really why we do this, right? We don't do this just for ourselves. We do this because we want to make the group. We want to make our friends have an amazing story and just have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing we lose all the time is people like, well, why do you play Dungeons and Dragons? You do it for yourself? No, not really. And, I enjoy it, yes. However, I love to see when my friends are having a good time. It's just kind of part of the community.
Yeah.
And everybody jokes about it. This is the most social, unsocial game that people think it is. I was like, but it's not. It's extremely social. You can't play the game with one person. It doesn't work like that. It's called a book.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it may be a good segue if you want to talk about the cosplay aspect of our show and stuff as well. I don't know how long ago, Tony, it was, but I surprised everyone because we're just a bunch of people in t-shirts for a long time. And I came on without a shirt and like face tattoos and green hair and everything and earrings all through my face and with the elf ears, right? And people are like, whoa, what the hell? But then over time, more people started also cosplaying. And then when the opportunity with Gen Con TV came up, I was like, Tony, we got to go all in on the cosplay. He's like, hell yeah, dude, that sounds great. And so that's why when you see the show, everybody's fully decked out and always evolving our outfits as well. As I'll show you in a second. I want to show you something we have a show and tell. But because also this particular thing we're doing is a show, it's a visual medium.
Exactly.
Right. It's very much the storytelling and the voice acting and the DM weaving the adventure and sharing it. But you want to look up on the screen and never be bored. Right. Now, I don't besmirch people that don't, because it's not easy to have Tony set up and to spend money and time to get dressed, because I have to get dressed like it takes me like almost 40 minutes every time to get all the but you want
when
the
you're playing Cutter, it probably took you longer.
Yeah, well, the worst was Bale because of the blue skin.
Oh yeah, Bale's
yeah, it's the blue skin guy.
Yeah,
but it's a blast because when we have Tony's amazing Dwarven Forge and his super cool screenshots that, again, like he said, people aren't doing right now.
Right.
And then on top of that, you look, and when we're talking, the talking heads are the people, are the characters, and are even, as we've seen that some of the miniatures we try to match. We were just talking about earlier with my daughter's character, the Elf Ranger with the two torn hair, and the outfit matches her clothing, right? And so that to us is like a really exciting and fun part of it, to entertain people, to make it interesting. And I know, we're not professional actors, we're not many things, but we can be visually exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's my daughter there too. That's Rin Swiftbow that's going through there. And also I want to show you something that relates to that, which is as we get more magic items, we just got a whole slew of magic items with Tony's game. And one of the things was a magic sword, yeah, but more importantly, it segues into us leveling up, which Tony, he telegraphed that we're going to level up. It said, perfect, this sword, I'm going to put my runes on, excuse me, for my runite, some water. Everybody's got colds. But
true.
This beautiful item here, which is a long sword made by one of our players, right? Actually, Jack's on screen right now.
Yep.
Jack, he also has an axe that his character uses, that he designs. He's laser cutting in different types of materials. But not only this, right? You've seen it as it is. This cool shiny thing with lots of detail, the gems, and to this specification, right? But also, sucker glows. So it's as a firework, right?
Oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
When we have action now, I can be sitting here with this sword glowing when we're in combat, right? And you can place it. Again, you think of the visuals for the players. So sometimes I'll hold it across my chest. Sometimes I might have it, maybe when it's not lit, I can kind of flip it down upside down so you can see more of the hilt. Turn that off. Here like this, I can be standing like so. Visually, it's interesting and it's accurate, right? And so it's that dedication, which just to kind of assist Tony in his efforts. This guy spends all week planning, laying out, doing screenshots, and so it's the least we can do as players to support that by being in with our costumes, right? So. There's my daughter, yeah, with the sword. I love that.
It tells you how big that sword is. That thing's
exactly.
massive.
It reminds. I feel like I'm looking at like a Final Fantasy or a JRPG, where they always have like the huge swords for the characters.
Yeah. So along those lines, please, everybody who watches this now or later, you want to go to Facebook, and it's at Designed by Project H2. Again, at Designed by Project H2. And so it's H2 is the name of the company that Jack runs, and he's the designer for. And he's super cool, super talented. And I can brag that I found him. I discovered him, brought him into our show. But he's also now helping with our cosplay stuff, as well as just being a fun player.
And he has a great voice for his character.
Yeah.
Come on, mate. Oh yeah, mate.
It's not really, yeah, but he's also Australian, so that's not really a voice to him at that point. That's just who he is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he does that. It's just great when he has that low rumble.
Oh yeah, it's like he's been swearing, like he's been smoking for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the URL might be different than the one you typed in, but Jack just put the for the search, look at Designed by Project H2, and that you'll find it. I mean, I think there's a couple H2s in there, but
this one says at Designed by Project H2 when I looked at it. So that's I just pulled the URL from that site. So.
Okay, great. Absolutely. Okay, great. So that is it. Okay,
and
fantastic.
I figured when it says one bloke making amazing creations, I figured this is who we were talking about.
Yes.
Because only certain people use the word. So
he's a blokey bloke for our Aussie friends, which means man's man.
Yep.
So now Jack's ego is huge now at the end of this 10-minute commercial.
There you go. But no, this is interesting, because this is something that I've talked about with our team, and this things that we've been speaking about as well, is just the idea of immersion and how many different ways you can immerse players. And that goes both in a setting like we do, where we do it on the stream and we have an audience, but also it's neat and very unique to see it when it's sitting behind a table. No matter if I'm playing for 1,000 people or I'm playing for 4 people, seeing your players putting that effort into the game, seeing your players giving that extra effort into the story. I don't know about you, Tony, that drives me to be like, okay, now I got to even push my game higher than I wanted to before. And I know we're always trying to achieve new things and making the story better and making sure that people are invested and making sure that our players are invested. But when you see the players starting to invest that extra step, that's when I get super excited. I was like, okay, now I've got to figure out how do I push it even more and make it even better.
Are you asking me a question, or?
I'm asking, is that something that happens to you?
Oh, okay.
Well?
Yes. Well, I'm, as you can tell, a planner.
Yeah.
And a prepper. They have all types of DMs. There's DMs who are preppers. Then I have a great friend of mine named Rich, who's a dungeon master. He actually DM'd one of our shows, and he'll come in and pretty much just almost wing it. He'll just give him a few notes and he's off and running, and he does an amazing job. I think for me, when the players dress up, it makes me try harder in the sense, or even more freedom. I wouldn't say so much try harder, because I'm always trying to give my players a great game. If they're dressed up in cosplay or not, whether they decide to, because I don't demand like, oh, you have to RP.
Oh, yeah.
For the show, it's a little bit different because we're putting on performance. But for me, when I see players do that, what it does is makes me even less inhibited. So this way, like if I'm going to do a voice, I can totally get into that character, which just makes it even more enjoyable for them, because I know they're there and they're like, wow, we're really enjoying this so much that we're dressing up as our characters and spending our money for this, for this experience. It makes me just want to give them, more, and it makes it easier for me because I'm not like nervous, wondering, okay, because I don't know about you, but as a DM, if I worry like they're not enjoying it, or like people are upset, they're not having a good time, it makes it harder. You start fumbling over your words, you start forgetting, like, because before you're like, oh, I'm gonna kind of do this great speech and I'm gonna sound like this, and you'll start forgetting, and it just all goes out the window,
right?
Because you start doubting yourself. But when the people are dressed up, that they're happy,
Mhm.
and that just makes you have more confidence, which just makes you a more effective DM. So I don't like to say I put more effort into it, because that makes it sound to me like, oh, if you're dressing up, then I'm gonna try even harder to give you a
Right.
better game.
I get what you're saying. And
Yeah,
it
it
makes more
just
sense
makes,
the way
yeah,
you articulated that better than I did.
it's more effective is the way I
And
could
more
say it.
effective is a way to put that. That I like that because it's true. It breaks that barrier that you're sometimes you get into your own head. You're like, okay, my players, maybe they're not enjoying it as much as they want. And then you start to be like, oh wait, do I need to change this up then? Do I need to shift this? Do I need and then when you're seeing your players investing into it, you're like, okay, so
Yeah,
we're on the right track. We've got it, and I know that I can do these things, and we're all following the same direction.
I guess it's
Um,
analogous to saying you're going out on a date, first date with a girl, and right at the beginning of the date, she goes, "Hey, don't worry about it. I really like you. You're cool." And you're like, "Oh,
Tell
oh,
me the next time that happens.
oh, yeah." Well, all of a sudden, you're just like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Right? Yeah. You're like, oh wow,
And all of a
all we
sudden,
have,
the relaxation kicks in.
you know.
You're not all tensed up, worried. You know you got it. Okay, cool. We're good.
Anybody else have any questions? We've went over Dwarven Forge, we went over cosplay, we went over immersion techniques, we've went over the unique skills that you and your team bring to the D&D community and as a production. Trying to think. Now, this story that you're telling right now is completely homebrew from you, correct?
No, no,
Tony?
no.
No?
This is actually an old, I think, 1E adventure converted over to fifth
Okay.
edition, professionally converted over. It's called the Island of Dread, or the Isle of Dread.
Mm.
It's a classic D&D adventure. It was actually included, if I'm not mistaken, and Eric, you would probably know this before I did, because he knows more, like really good at the classic, because he played them. But I think the Isle of Dread was included in the basic box set for D&D, like the red box that you got, or something like that. It was included in one of the sets, and that's why it was so well known.
Okay.
It was designed, I do know because I read a little bit more about it. It was designed to show people that you didn't always have to be in a dungeon to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
Because before that, all the modules and everything were just dungeons and dungeons and dungeons. So they wanted to show, oh, look, you can do stuff out in the wilderness, you can be in swamps, you can be in mountains. So it really plays upon that whole explorative aspect of the of what they were trying to present. Now, obviously, there are dungeons and stuff in it, but yeah, it's more like the island itself. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a 5e converted over. There are some homebrew elements, like that one whole thing about going into the swamp with the basilisk, and everything that they fought to get the cure, and there's all that was homebrew. That was all just to get them a home base.
The story took itself in its own direction. Right?
Yeah, because they wanted a home base somewhere they could, and they needed one. So I was like, okay, I'll give them an opportunity. And then I gave them an option, like you can do the hard option, which is trying to cure the lady, or you can do the easy option, which is just going down there and slaying her. Now, luckily, they chose a hard option, which means that's why on the last episode they were rewarded with all that treasure that the lady said, hey, that's from our, even though it's from our ancestors, because you're so brave and you risked your lives, and one of you even died and had to be brought back from the dead, which actually included a picture of that. It's like the picture of the green, like a green light coming from the floor.
Oh yeah.
That's the one where that's Volric, which is Eric's character, being brought back from the dead. And because of that, they're rewarded. So that was really cool. But yeah, so it's a mix of homebrew, but largely a module overview that they're playing.
Awesome. No, that's interesting because, like I said, a lot of people, I get this kind of half of the group that I talk to are like, no, you never do modules, and the other groups like modules are useful. I'm kind of the one in the middle. Like I love to use modules as inspiration, and I love to use them as direction, but I don't just stick to a module because I don't think modules were built specifically for game mastering in a whole.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. It's like, you get the module and it's kind of like a foundation, and then you add on where you need. If you notice the players are wanting to do something that's not in the module, then you just kind of like
Craft
say
it.
design like an encounters or a one shot or a few sessions worth of adventures to give them that, and then they can get back on. I kind of think of the module gives you like an overarching, maybe big baddie that they'll eventually phase, but there's plenty
Right.
of other things that they can do on the way to getting there. So
Right.
I don't see modules as a bad thing, whatever, if it's gonna provide a fun experience and it saves a lot of work for the DM. Hey, if there's other DMs out there that don't want to ever pick up a module, hey, God bless you.
Yeah,
God
no,
bless you,
I
because
completely
I
agree.
like the work they saved
I
me.
think I have almost all of the 5e modules. I've got a bunch of third party modules. A lot of them I've never fully ran like from the module itself, but I'll take inspiration and I'll take elements of each of these things and use them where I need them in the stories. Uh, Now my paid games, surprisingly, I've been the exact opposite. Both of my paid games are modules because that's what they wanted. And I was like, okay, cool. That's what you want.
Yeah, right.
It makes my
If
life
you're paying,
easier. I
right?
have a
Right.
lot-
If you're paying, you get what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're
Well,
like,
the nice thing about this one that we're playing now is that it has a whole ecosystem of connected and disconnected, tribes and creatures and
yeah,
history and locations, and then we get to go where we want. And so it's a lot of modules. I think people might get kind of turned off because they seem kind of railroady or limited.
mhm.
But this feels like absolutely not limited. It feels like we can do whatever we want. And
Yeah.
it's
My
it's
Tomb of
kind of
Annihilation
ready.
game is the same way. It's like
Yeah.
they can go wherever they want. They
Yeah.
finally
Yeah,
made it to
yeah.
the land that they need to go.
Right.
You got the whole island to explore. I even gave them a map that we pull up on the screen that slowly gets filled in. And depending the
Nice.
way they travel time, then they actually go and like you have the three fast travel. I think it's like a certain amount of hexes than normal. And depending on how fast they're traveling, they can actually fill in the map around them as they go. So it's really cool.
Nice.
It makes it, you're slowly filling in this map, just like a kind of like an old school when you're playing a PC game or
Mhm.
Dungeons
And slowly
Dragons
the fog of
black
war
map.
slowly
Yeah,
starts to
yeah, it's slowly opened up,
diminish.
kind of like that. And there's all sorts of stuff, encounters along the way.
Something else, Tony, I probably want to add that we've been trying to do, and so far, knock on wood, it's worked perfectly for what, 9 episodes now? It's whatever it's been.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that we try and have interesting beginnings and either cliffhangers or very definite endings to each show, because it's very easy to be like in the middle of something.
Oh yeah.
Like, we'll finish this conversation with the guy at the tavern next week, right?
Nope.
So Tony's planning, our being half aware of what's going on, all kind of combining to kind of wrap things up nicely. So that makes our shows, which of course, like you on your shows, are on YouTube and everything else. I think they're very palatable that way. They can really feel like it's an episode in a show.
Yeah.
Right. And then luckily also with Gen Con, as you know, because you have the picture up there right now, is that each week we have an artist that creates, the visualizations to promote that show. Tony gives the name and description. He's already provided, the Dwarven Forge. We provide cosplay, and we're going to provide more because again, now that I have the sword, I can do some more pictures with the sword, right? And so these can be on upcoming promos. So, we're trying our best to, again, just to entertain people, just have people, give them a show that they love. And man, Tony, from his wide range of voice acting, that's like top notch, to his stereotypical, but then quite atypical character types that he'll have like the sniffing, like, oh no, don't hurt me, sir, to all these varieties mixed in, and his absolute commitment to being a good dungeon master for the players. It's like it's all these things all kind of wrapped together to again just hopefully entertain people. That's what is like. I get it, because at the end of the day, we're nobody's making $1 million off this stuff except for Critical Role, and so it's like entertain and see what kind of comes from that, right? 'Cause that's where you get the opportunities to be a bigger part of the community, not just a positive part, which I think Tony and I have been trying to do with, again, playing in multiple streams with Stefan and Luke and those guys with charity events and whatnot, but also trying to be some people, oh, NerdBauchery, I like those guys. Like
Right.
that's all you want to hear, right? Okay, and then now, like with James, when we talk about you, James, I like that guy, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a good part of that community. And so if our show could be something that people see as a positive, and that's all that comes together. I know I'm kind of run off the mouth, but it's just, I think the show is a great opportunity for us to give to the community,
Yeah.
and then whatever bears fruit from that,
Yeah, which I think that's the main focus that most D&D channels right now is that's where they're at. They're, we're offering the time, we're offering the energy. Some people are offering exorbitant amounts of dedication, and you're seeing it, and we're not looking for really anything in return other than finding out if we're actually doing a great job. But at the same time, as long as I'm having fun and my players are having fun, it's going to be a good show. It's going to be because everybody's enjoying themselves on the show.
Yes.
And we are at our hour. We're past our hour, actually, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But do you guys have any final tidbits that you would like to give to the audience?
I've talked plenty. Tony, go for it.
I just hope people, give us a chance. Come check us out. Like I said, we described, we're doing something that, as far as I know, is unique to virtual storytelling through Dungeons and Dragons and miniatures. It's basically an interactive movie and a kind of a show, because we're able to do, like I said, flashbacks, dream sequences, memories, all these things that, because of our unique presentation, are able to give the audience something that they've never seen before. So I really hope people just check us out, and maybe really like that and enjoy it and follow us along for the story. And that's a story that you, the audience, can interact with it as well. You can be writing in chat and maybe give some bits or something, and we're going to hopefully come up with something like that. They'll say, oh, and then maybe they get a potion or something like that, but just making it more exciting and interactive. And again, just hope people come check us out.
Follow us on Facebook, NerdBauchery Adventures.
Yes,
That's
thank you.
I think there's many many socials we have, but that would be the one, because that's the one we're more active in, and it directly relates to this show. I post tons of D&D memes if you like memes, and then we always have up to date, show times and previews and all that good stuff.
Yep. If you want to know how to spell NerdBauchery, you can see it right above my head. If you're wondering.
And it's also in the ad, but it's covered a little bit. So, but yeah, no, the Facebook link is in chat right now. If you want to go check them out, make sure you go give them some love. If you haven't, of course, make sure you give us a follow. We do this show every week with new guests every single week. Let's see here. Who is our guy for next week? Let me plug that real fast. Like this, now that I'm getting ahead of myself, I can let people know who's coming on. Next week we have, let's see here. Oh, I have an opening. Okay, we'll be waiting on it. Check social media. Keep an eye out for that, and we'll be announcing our next guest here in the next couple of days. But otherwise, thank you all for coming. This has been a great show. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Eric, for taking the time and energy out of your days to just give a little bit of an insight of what you guys are doing. And hopefully this gives somebody out there some inspiration to start their own game, or, try out this Dwarven Forge thing and, get addicted to it like everybody else does. And all these awesome opportunities. Now, when do you guys play?
Sundays go ahead, Tony.
No, you can go. You can go.
Okay. Yeah. So it's Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it's for 3 hours every Sunday.
So
on Gen Con TV.
Not to cut this one. So go hang out with them for 2 hours, and then at 9 o'clock, come hang out back with us.
Okay, cool. Yes. I will.
Or at 10 o'clock, just come rate us, and we'll be good to go. But
that sounds fantastic.
But yeah, no. So starting here for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing one shots. We're going to be kind of lightly playing on Sundays. So while that's going on, if you guys want, head over there, check them out all the whole time. Everything's good to go. Also, remember though, either way, if you can't watch us full time or if you can't watch them full time, we're on YouTube. You can come check us out, give us some love over there as well. But our new project is going to be starting here in July, and that will be going from 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till midnight.
Wow.
So that'll be, and you all are the first people to see it. So without further ado, the tavern is closed. Thank you once again for both of you coming and hanging out with us. We will see you guys all next week at Tavern Talks. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks, James.
Bye
Bye, guys.
Bye.